let's go. It's another episode of the Power series with me, yours truly, Samuel Atrani. Today, I have another exciting guest on the show. I keep telling you, I'm going to be bringing you awesome content, awesome people, fun people, interesting people, people that make the show rock, and people that make you want to learn power platform just like yesterday. So today, we have a special guest on the show, someone who, you know, really cool guy, community guy, loves what he does. He's going to be talking to us about some Power Virtual Agent goodness. When we come back after the montage, I am going to introduce him and then we're going to start having some fun. Stick and stay with us. We'll be right back. Awesome! We are back. So, if you have been following us, you realize that we have a couple of interesting people coming on the show. Every episode has its own, blast. Every episode has its own, cool guest. Today, I have with me, you know, some very superpower, harnessing, community person, in the person of Thomas. Hey, Thomas, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sunil. How everyone? I just can't stop laughing because you're doing such a great show. I'm just watching you, and man, oh, you're just so entertaining. So I was really trying to be very, very serious, but I can't.
But I was just making you laugh.
Oh yeah,
Forgive me. Forgive me. I just love it so much when I have, I get, great people like you on the show and
oh,
to know that
yeah.
you're going to share, great stuff for the people watching us. So I'm really honored to have you on the show. It's an honor to have you guys, spare some of your time to share some goodness with us. So, hey, welcome to the show once again.
Hey. So hello everyone. Yeah, I'm just very glad to be here and be able to speak to. So Samuel told me that last time you had like 4,000
Yep.
viewers, which
Yep.
I'm totally thrilled and stunned.
Yep.
I'm not petrified yet, but like somehow I feel a little scared. So that's awesome. So hello everyone. It's a good morning, maybe for some of you. Good afternoon, good day, good evening even. And yeah, I can start as well. So yeah, first I'll just share the screen
Yep.
where I should have presentation already running.
So a
Awesome.
couple of things for you, Thomas. So Brian says I should tell you that you have a very awesome background. Very awesome background from Brian.
Uh, yep.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah, I
So
think so. We saw your screen quite for.
yeah, I just switched it off
Okay.
because before I'll turn it on again. I
Hmm.
just wanted to make a short intro about what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to
Sure.
show actually. So I heard from Samuel as well that you've already seen what is Power Virtual Agent, what this
Yep.
tool is for, how it works. Like you had this introductory session or stream. So I'll try to avoid going very much into details on how it works, and why it is not very new. So that for the first time it was presented at Microsoft Business Application Summit right in April last year. Then it was like repainted and announced as a part of our platform, now called the Power Virtual Agent. But I wanted to show you how you can use the very latest features that were added to the Power Virtual Agent in December last year. These are entities and authorization, so like two new features, and to say why they are kind of special, how you can benefit having them, and how you can as well use LUIS, so the language understanding intelligence service that is also available for you to use if you find the entities as the functionality not enough for your needs. And then if we have time, I can as well show how UI flows work because this demo I'm going to show you is also having the UI flows somewhere there underneath. So now I will just turn on the presentation just to help you memorize somehow who I am, because my last name is not that very easy to spell.
Exactly. I was just going
Yeah.
to ask that. So it's something that I think the last time I was having a conversation with one of the MVPs, and I was mentioning you as like, oh wait, the one with the surname with pause. I was like, yes, I'll ask him when he comes on the show how he pronounces his name.
Right. So it's Poszytek, spelled properly in Polish because I'm from Poland, Warsaw.
Oh.
Yep. Still fighting not to be infected. And I'm working with these technologies, with the SharePoint, with Microsoft for over 10 years, and Power Platform processes both from the analytical side and maker side is something I'm doing for more than 4 years already. And I'm trying really to be very active in the community, trying to contribute as much as I can, writing blog posts, doing screencasts, and also speaking at the conferences that are still not canceled. And if you are very or anyhow interested in what I'm writing about, you can follow me on my Twitter or look up my blog posts at the URL that you can see below now the screen. There is a handle and the URL. And one more thing about me is that I'm also a really proud co-organizer of the SharePoint Saturday Warsaw. I mean, it's now SharePoint and Office 365 Saturday Warsaw. It's going to take place on the 4th of April this year. So if you are watching from Poland or from the neighborhood, we are still not canceling this event. It is going to take place unless city is going to say no huge gatherings. And this is the only way we can really cancel the event. But as for today, we are still on track. We have awesome speakers. It's going to be a fifth edition, so really huge event. We are really looking forward to it, and it would be nice to have you there as well. And that is actually all I had to say about me.
Awesome.
So yeah.
You have the platform for as long as you can, keep us entertained and keep us, informed. So if there's any question, I'll also pull that out for you. If there's anything, I just want clarification so that viewers can understand. Yeah, we're going to do that. So, hey,
all
take
right.
it
So,
from here.
yeah. If there are any questions, just post them.
Sure.
So, what I wanted to show today is how we can actually use the entities. So, if you're not actually familiar with the entities, this is this new functionality that was added in December. And it is very, it is using the artificial intelligence in the background because it's meant to help you to extract data from strings. So when you start your adventure with Power BI Agent, there is a set of those entities pre-built, so you can actually use them. I'll just show you in a moment how. And their major and the only purpose is that if the bot asks a question, and we don't actually all the time expect a user to answer in a very precise way to the question. So, like for example, what's your eyes color? And then, well, that would be really perfect if user answers blue. But usually, if we ask a sentence, if we ask a question using a full sentence, then user will really likely answer with the full question, with the full answer as well. So they will answer my eyes are blue or whatever. And in this situation, if you only want to have the name of a color extracted from this sentence, then without entity, bot was just not capable of doing so. So then with having the entities, just let me switch on Zoom it. I hope it will work. Please work.
I believe that.
No, it doesn't. I don't know why Zoom it is not working when sharing screen, but it's just showing a black screen. Whatever.
Maybe we can try with the magnifier. I don't know if you can try with magnifier. That should maybe bring that in a bit. Or because it's a browser, we can use Control Plus. I mean, since it's a browser, we should be able to hopefully enlarge that. Just thinking out loud here, but.
Oh, sorry. Oh no! That's bad.
That's way over. Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. Now it looks like it's.
I'm losing it.
Okay, that's fine. I think this is fine. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'll try my best with this.
Exactly. This is cool. Yep.
So anyway, I just opened an entity of color as an example. So as you can see here from those examples shown below, is that once you are given the answer as a full sentence, what this entity does is simply trying to match yeah, I mean, to match the keywords from the sentence with an existing entity, and then it is extracting the value. So
Mm,
an entity is simply just like a definition, like a, yeah, like sort of a keyword that AI is looking within the sentence. So if you're anyhow familiar with LUIS, with this language understanding intelligence service, then then you know that once you type in there a sentence and you create the entities, you can then match those keywords, those phrases inside the sentence with those entities. So then once you run it, it will extract all the matching keywords.
okay.
I will show you. I will show you
So
just later.
Tomas,
Yep.
for let's say for someone who is now getting into it, can we say that the entities is more or less like a way to extract info from the utterances, or as I'm communicating with the bot, is a way for the bot to kind of pick out the things I'm saying and maybe save them like in variables for later use? Is it kind of like something like that?
So yes, actually, if you that's what you said. So you have the utterance, and then you can extract those keywords, those entities from the utterances,
Okay, kind of
and
like
then
intentions, right? Like what I intend to do, so kind of picking those out. Okay, okay,
yeah, it's like in
awesome.
this example, you can write your age, both using numbers or just a word, and then having this age entity, bot is able to actually acknowledge what is your age, but in the numeric values.
Okay, okay.
So then once you go into topics and you'd like to use it in a topic, maybe I'll just try to open this first one with the synonyms. That's the first one I have. So then once you ask a question to the user, you're able to actually use those entities here as a way to identify what user really meant. So if you now use the age as an entity, then
Mm,
bot will try to like decipher your answer and find out the value that is a number, which will mostly likely be your just age in the numeric value, so that you
okay,
can then later use it as this variable in your later conversation.
okay.
However, there is also a way to create your own custom entities. So you can go and create your custom entity, but that is not as powerful as
Mm,
the one built in, because
built in.
it's just like a keyword and
Mm,
then a list of synonyms, so that if user is using one of those synonyms,
synonyms.
then
Okay.
yeah, then bot is somehow able to acknowledge whether this is like the hardware in this case or maybe software. So the case I have, this demo I have, is about a bot that is
Hmm.
a help desk bot.
Okay.
Its purpose is to be embedded on a SharePoint site or in Teams, and to provide actually answers to users that have issues or problems with software or hardware. So first, what it's doing in this very simple approach is trying to ask a user. I mean, it's asking user the question, "Hey, can you describe your issue?" And then based on the answer, sorry, and then the second thing is that it's asking a question: what is your issue type? Is it a software or hardware?
Hmm.
So this is the most easy approach, where I have just these multiple choice options. So it will be displayed as buttons. What I can as well do more in this approach, I can as well go to options for
Hmm.
user
Hmm.
and define synonyms in here. So I can as well
Okay.
put here like soft. I'm not creative at this hour, so or device, yeah, right? So then if a user at this point will answer, I mean, not just click the button or type in
Mm,
exactly software, but will type in device, then it will be also considered as a
okay.
hardware issue. So
Hardware
let me
issue.
just
Okay.
show you, let me just show you how it works. So first, I need to just trigger the bot. So help desk, please help. The next step that is going to happen now is that the bot will ask me to authorize.
Mm.
That is also a thing that was introduced in December. So before the December, you were not actually able to get the user context. So all the users were just anonymous, whether they were really anonymous users from outside of the world or your employees. But having the authorization configured, you're able to acknowledge the user context. So it is in two steps. First,
Mm.
you have to copy this confirmation code or
Okay.
validation code. And then once you paste it in here, then the authentication provider, which is Azure AD in this case, is going to generate the bearer token.
Mm.
Fine. So now I'm logged in.
So out of curiosity, just playing dumb
Yep.
for a moment, can we use third-party authentication tools like Okta or like Facebook, like Google, or is just strictly for now Azure AD?
So the point is that you can configure it actually with any OAuth 2.0 authentication provider.
Okay.
So if Facebook is giving you the possibility to authenticate you using this protocol, then yes, you can use Facebook. I don't know if Facebook is really able to do that. But you have to provide a lot of those variables and data to actually configure this OAuth 2.0 endpoint. But you can do it with any OAuth 2.0 authentication provider. I mean, with AAD, that's the most simple because there is even the configuration defined or described in documentation or in my blog post as well. But yeah, if you have any other provider, then sure, you can
Okay.
use it.
Awesome. I mean, just so because I know people will be asking, wait a minute, can I connect it to something else? I don't want it to be just Azure AD, so that's why, I'm
Yeah.
I'm
So
asking that. Yeah.
the only thing is that it has to be using the OAuth 2.0
2.0. Okay.
yeah, protocol. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
So now I can describe my issue. So for example, I say my battery is dead. And in this scenario, bot has now to ask me, hey, what is the kind of the issue you have? So the most desirable approach would be that based on the answer I provide, bot is already familiar or bot already knows what kind of an issue it is.
Mm.
So based on the content, based on the context, but this is a very dummy bot. It has no intelligence in the background, so it's just asking very straightforward questions. But as I said, I can now either click or I can write. But if I write a device, device, which was one of the synonyms, then you'll see that bot is going to go into the hardware branch.
Hardware branch.
Or should be, but it didn't.
Oh,
Maybe.
did we save?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
Yeah, we did, but yeah, you're right. I didn't save these changes,
Oh,
so
because
I
I
have
see
to
there's
say.
still saved. Because it gets me all the time.
Yeah, you're right. So there is no like ongoing save in the background. I have to really manually save it. So yeah, help desk again. But if it doesn't work still, then you have to believe me that it works.
Gods of Demo Day.
Yeah, so I sacrifice a chicken, I sacrifice a cake, even a scoop of an ice cream, but it's still not enough.
Maybe you need some coffee.
I have a mug of coffee, full mug. Right.
Okay.
Fair enough. Okay, so now it will ask me again this question. And if I type device, it should go into the hardware branch based on the synonyms. Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
It
Yeah.
worked. Now it's looking up the Q&A database to find if there are any answers. So yeah, it found a Q&A. I mean, it found the answer to my question. It's kind of funny still. I mean, winter already passed.
No, that is smart, but that is smart because, I haven't really, thought of it in this direction because then you can layer Q&A there, and if it can't find it there, then you can probably move on to maybe trying to remedy it in another way. So yeah, that's pretty smart.
Yeah, I mean, this bot is doing this, that if this answer it finds is not enough for the user, then what it does later is like assigning a task to a human agent or
Yeah.
this device branch is more complex because it is now meant that this help desk is not in the premises of the customer. Is like remote help desk, so they require user to send this malfunctioning device to them. So they have to first obtain a QR code. I mean, there is much more because it's also using the UI flows to generate the QR code, the barcode. But anyway, that's not the point for today. I can showcase it later. No, I mean it's kind of interesting, really. So the point is that now the user went through this whole scenario. So user was able to really answer to provide details about the issue, was asked about the kind of an issue. But as said, I'd like more to be just asked for about the issue, and then based on my answer, bot already knows what to do. So what I did as well, as you saw, I've created this entity of mine that is using the synonyms, and I will now turn it on, so that you will be able to see how it works with this synonyms entity. So the most preferable way is that I'm not only typing a synonym, but I can answer with a full sentence. And what I expect is that it actually, based on this sentence, really knows where to go. So this kind of works with this entity, but not all the time. So now I'll just provide a little bit more complex scenario. So let's assume that user forgot their password and they can't log into the laptop. So they're really angry, and they're trying to describe in a very a lot of sentences or words what the issue is, and then be smart and try to acknowledge what is the issue. So for example, I think my password expired. So in this case, us as users, as human beings, we already know that this is not a hardware issue, it's a software issue.
A software issue,
Right, and then in this entity that I have here, for the software, I don't have password as a synonym. No, I don't.
Okay.
But I have a computer or computer mouse as a synonym for hardware. So most likely the bot will either say, sorry, I don't understand, or will try to.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, that's another thing. I forgot about that. So the point is that it still is asking me the question, because I can't at the same time. Oh no, I can. Sorry. I mean, I can't. So it's not possible to use help desk as this IT help desk as.
Oh, okay. As a closed list.
No, I mean, sorry, I'm wrong. It is possible. So I can try to ask here this question, please. Describe issue, and then I'll just remove it. And then, where is this question? All right, there has to. Right, so that just some unknown variables because I removed that question.
Yep.
So this topic checker is also something that
really cool tool.
From Flow. All right. So now once I save it and try to do it the same again, so to ask the same question, I mean to type in the same answer, the bot will be somehow able to navigate me to hardware branch.
Hardware.
Yeah, most likely to hardware. So once again. All right, so now once again. Okay. And now there is going to be this answer, right? So please describe your issue. And I
Okay.
can actually press the buttons, which are confusing in this case, but I can as well type the whole answer, the
Okay.
whole,
Yep. The whole
yeah, the
guy's thing
comment.
again.
So now, yeah, that was too much, possibly. Maybe if I remove the last question, the last sentence, that will be more understandable, but still not. So even though there is a keyword, but for example, if I answer like I think my battery is that, then possibly it will be able to resolve it to no, still not. So anyway, this entity is sometimes working, sometimes not. So I was able to to be able actually to type in the whole answer as a long sentence, and then what was actually somehow able to resolve it to either software or the hardware
Hardware.
branch. But in this scenario, for some reason, it's not. So
Do
it is
we
just
do we have to? Because I see that. Do we have to define this in Louis, or we can actually do this directly within the you know right here within PVA?
so now this is the point of this conversation. So actually, what I found out is
Oh,
that
synonym was off. It looks like
yeah,
synonym
that's
was
number
off.
four. So now I just jump to the third example, the Lewis example. So
Oh, okay.
actually, what I found out is that with those entities, the built-in entities are working like a charm. So that's really
Mm,
something powerful. I mean, if you want to recognize the color or age or zip code or email address or whatever, the phone number out of the sentence that user types in, then this is working really like a charm. But once you try to do it on your own, create your own entity to extract the keyword that you actually want, then this is not working really good. So I decided to move a step further
mm,
and to engage Louise.
awesome.
So now just to show you, what I've done could be actually done much easier, even without the entities, because what I really needed was to identify whether this answer is software or hardware.
Hardware. Okay.
So yes, like in the end, I should be able just to use the intents, right? And then to
Yeah.
put a couple of sentences into each of those intents, and then to name one intent as software, the second intent as hardware.
Hardware. Okay.
Yeah, but what I did was that I just created one intent with all the issues,
Mm,
and then I also created those entities. Took two
yeah.
entities. First was a software, second was a hardware.
Hmm.
These are just the list entities. This is not the regex entity or the contest entity, I think, how it's called. Yeah, it was just just the list. So
The
not
list.
this
Okay. Okay. Not the
machine
ML.
learning
Not the
or
machine learning.
regex.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, this machine learning is also awesome, but it's just much more powerful, and this is way too much for this simple scenario. So yeah, so therefore I just decided to use this very simple list entity kind, and then I provided a couple of values and a lot of synonyms, and based on that, when I type in the sentence, so like here are lists of those intents, example intents with properly recognized entities inside of them. And then if I provide, well, that's weird, it wasn't trained last time. But anyway, now once I provide my utterance, so that one that I have typed in previously in virtual agent, so I think my password, blah, blah, and I test it, then obviously the intent is user issues. But then once we go deep into details, we can see that most of the entities that were found are software.
Software.
So
Okay.
now what I'm doing here is I'm also using the Power Automate.
Mm,
That is actually the middleware to let Power Virtual Agent communicate with Louis. There is no direct
connector. Okay.
interface, connector from Power Virtual Agents to Louis, so we have to use Power Automate, which is being triggered using the new actions that have been introduced in February. Oh, come on, just edit. So there are two new actions: the trigger for Power Virtual agents
Okay.
and response for Power Virtual for Power Virtual agents. And then what it's doing is actually calling the Louise, and then is just calculating how many entities from software or hardware are being returned. So that's not the very correct way to accomplish this scenario. The correct would be just to have those two intents, and then based on the user input, identify the intent, so software, hardware. But having the entity and then really getting the most of this entity extraction, what the bot would be able to do is not only to identify whether it's software or hardware, but based on the user input would also be able, for example, to say, okay, so you have a hardware issue with a computer and your password expired. So like get those entities, and then when passing this issue to a human agent or maybe to another Power Automate, would be actually able to put this in a specific branch or in a specific scenario. Or for example, if its purpose was then to create a help desk ticket,
Yeah.
for example, I don't know, in DevOps or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have for example, those attributes that define the task. So what is a system? What is a
Mm-hmm.
device? What is I don't know, the issue kind or the problem type?
Type. Yeah.
Then having those entities identified from the user input, bot or the Power Automate would be likely able to match them with the parameters from the ticket form, and then actually create a really full detailed ticket and then assign it to someone. So that is the real power of the entities. The more entities you define, the more actually data you are able to extract from the single sentence, the more you can actually try to learn from this sentence. So this is the real power once you try to put Luis into work with the Power Virtual agent.
So, Tomasz, quick question. I'm thinking, in the case where we have a lot of entities extracted, all right, you suggested that this could be passed on to, let's say, a support ticket or, an issue tracking system with those entities that are
Mm-hmm.
being extracted. Question is that do you have to craft your utterances in a particular way for it to extract the entities, or generally, so far as you have it at Lois or you do entities extraction, it will be able to pick up the things you've mapped out from synonyms and also to Lewis?
So there is no particular way you have to compose this sentence. The point is that you have to train Luis in a way that is able to understand, to understand the user input and acknowledge, or maybe to extract those entities from that input, however it is written. So, of course, the more details user puts in and the more entities you have trained, the more as well details Luis is able to get out of this sentence. Based
Okay.
on my example, I have just those list entities, those synonyms. So Luis is just looking for the keywords or its synonyms from the sentence, and then it can match them. But
Okay.
if you go into those machine learning entities, then you're much more, you have
Mm,
even more power actually, because you can get this context out of the full sentence or the specific occurrences of the keywords within the sentence. So this gives you a little bit more of the possibilities. However, it also requires you more of the learning, more examples to provide to train this bot, AI for Luis. But
okay.
even with this list entity, you can create more entities. For example, the issue type, another entity, device name, another entity would be an application name, for example, another entity, operation system, another entity would be the problem, for example. And then you could try to deconstruct these for example, these that, okay, expired password should be that the issue type is password expiration.
Mm-hmm.
Then reset is, for example, desired action. So that
Okay.
the action that is expected from the human agent. User didn't provide your information about the system, but if they typed in the issue, for example, I mean, the answer would be, I can't save data in my Excel file because
Yeah.
I think my credentials, expired. So then you'd be able to know that, okay, there's an Excel application,
Mm.
issue is software, problem is expired credentials, and so
Okay.
on. So, and then you can create a ticket and then put values to each of the attributes in a ticket. So that's really a lot of information back for the human
Yeah.
agent who is assigned this ticket.
More or
So
less like a guided experience for the user.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then it also shows that the virtual agent is really intelligent and can understand what you're typing in. And it's not really repeatedly asking you those dumb questions. Hey, what's your issue? Hey, what's the computer name? Hey, what's the
Yeah.
software name?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's try it again. So in this case, I will just copy paste this answer I've provided. So the one. Sorry, I have to log in again because that's a new session. So for each new session, I have to log in again and again and again. Now you also now see that the virtual agent is now using Power Automate to get information about me. So it will now answer, hey, Tomasz, or whatever it should answer. Yeah, so now you see it says, hello, Tomasz, because it called a Power Automate that actually called the Graph API. With the bearer token, I passed here as a parameter to this Power Automate.
Okay. Okay.
And this way, I can just show you briefly how it was done. Get user info. Yep. And so I passed this bearer token. So it used this bearer token to actually call the Graph API.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it called the Graph API, it got my context, it got my information. Then it also called Graph API to get data about my manager.
Okay.
It also called CDS to get my user record from common data service.
Oh, okay.
And in the end, it just returned a lot of information. So
Awesome.
right.
Cool.
So
Cool. Cool.
this is how we can really get this user context from the bearer token. So anyway, I was again asked about the issue, so I'll just copy it, paste, and this time it is triggering the flow that is passing this question to Luis, and then Luis should respond with entities, and then flow should, it says, okay, your problem is software issue.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
I'm not again being asked about this question. Hey, what is the issue kind?
Yeah.
Right. And else it's just, what's your issue? Fine, I'm done. I have enough information to identify your issue. Okay. Maybe the answer is not the perfect one.
Yeah, but at least it detected hardware, software. Cool.
Right. So as said, it went here and it actually got this respond here as you saw. So there is a list of entities, and as said, it's not the best way to do that. It's not the very proper way, but it's calculating if number of entities from software, I mean, number of software entities is higher than hardware, and then if yes, then this issue type is software, and this is what is now we're returning. That's just a software issue. Okay. And then it just called another Power Automate, which queried the Q&A database, and that was the answer that was the most matching the provided question. But I would say no, it doesn't. Obviously, it doesn't. It's not a keyboard issue, which is also not always the perfect match because there is just one huge Q&A database, and that answers both for software issues and hardware issues. So what it's now bot doing is simply assigning a task to a human agent, and then the human agent is requested to contact you, and that's it. So bot is actually just ending this conversation with this, sorry, I can't do anything else. Yeah. So that is an example of how you can actually uh, benefit from using GUIs with the Power Virtual Agent, because if we really want to make a bot that is intelligent and that is not asking over and over again those same questions and
Yeah.
making user frustrated and pissed off because how many times I can be asked questions, what, and like a questionnaire. But we all like to be just treated as, I mean, even though that we know that we are talking to a virtual agent, a
Yeah.
bot, a machine, we still would like to talk to this thing as
As
to
natural as possible.
as like a living, yeah, living
Yeah.
person, right, living
Yeah.
thing. So if this thing is answering us in the most natural way and is like acting, at least that is understanding what we are typing and what is our what we want, then this brings less frustration and, well, helps users to um, interact in a more positive way with this thing. So then you'll have more positive feedback from both your employees or customers who will be using this software on your webpage, for example. So, yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
I mean, this is, it's good to know that, because sometimes the questions I get is, oh, is it just not the same as an IVR? Where there are, predicted or canned responses that it's giving me. Even in some cases, IVRs can do, calls together. I'm like, well, this takes it a bit, to an advanced level, because when IVR, you are technically defining what the person can see. Anything outside that, you can't do any entity extraction or any
Mhm.
AI or any cognitive services extraction from that. So this is pretty cool. So apart from you mentioned that there are built-in or system-provided entities which work out of the box. Apart from that, you have to use either Louis or find your own ways to do it. Personally, what has been one of the challenging things you've done or you've encountered using entities extraction, and how did you go about it? If you want to share that.
The only, because that was not the first time I was actually using Louis, so I was a little bit familiar with the tool, and I knew how it works, how, I mean, it should be done. But yeah, what I said is that I wanted to actually use those entities so badly
Mm,
that even though I knew from the very beginning that what I'm doing is, as said, not the most proper way. I mean,
yeah.
not the most correct way to actually complete this scenario. I I did it because, well, as I said, um, I should be able to actually identify what is the user issue based on the intent, based
Yeah.
on, I mean, this pattern matching, whether it's one intent or another.
Mm,
But what I didn't accomplish yet is that if I'd like to actually cover this scenario where bodies are creating a ticket in whatever ticketing system and is extracting from the sentence those parameters as the issue type, the device name, or device type, or software name, and so on and so on, then there is quite much more things to do at the Power Automate side, because what I've been returned here is just this large JSON, right?
oh yeah.
And then, for example, if there is an entity called software,
Mm,
so I mean software name, so that should somehow recognize a name of an application that user has an issues with, and so it returns it. Then, I mean, the only issue is then to parse this JSON and then
mm.
actually to extract only this information that you
Information
really
from
want,
it.
which is dynamic because those entities are just tables and you can have the multiple matching entities. So also this schema of the return JSON can differ. So
Mm,
once at one time you can have names of those entities. On the other time, you have the different entities. So you have also to create this JSON schema with a lot of optional values that are not always expected to be returned. So what I just think can be really difficult, or maybe not difficult but time consuming, is to parse this JSON, this return JSON, and to actually get those single values they can just, for example, put as a parameters in a task. But apart from that, working with Luis is really comfortable. It's nice, and there are a lot of things going on to be added soon. So this tool is really being developed intensively right now. So there are upcoming new features as well. So it's good
Awesome.
to read. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, if you've been following, guys, we have been talking. Thomas has been giving us some Power Virtual Agent goodness when it comes to entity extraction. So we've been trying to extract, entities from your intent as you have a conversation with a bot or agent. We want to determine what exactly you're trying to achieve so that we can direct you to the right branch or response. And this has been, very interesting. I know, Thomas, from the beginning, we just jumped right into it. A common question that I like to ask my guests on the show is that how, I mean, you in your introduction you mentioned that you've done SharePoint and all that, but how did you, really get into this whole Power Platform craziness? And at what point did you say, did you tell yourself, I need to get on this thing like crazy? At what point in your career did that decision have to be made?
Yep. So long story short, I've been working with processes for a couple of years, even before switching to Microsoft Flow or now the Power Automate. I've been doing SharePoint design and processes, workflows. I am also an index guy, so I'm still working with index a lot of time. And like once Flow was in a preview, I just tried it, and it was so very much similar to Nintex, and like this adoption was really fast. It was like, okay, that's fine. I can just work with that. I needed a little bit of time because at the time, at the beginning, there was no documentation at all, no community. So like every issue you had, you were like a pioneer, the
Yeah.
first person to go there and then to struggle with other issues.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also tried Power Apps,
Mm.
and that was like, no way I can ever adopt it. It's just way too
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
It's no
Yeah.
way. It's no way I can ever use it. And like a year later, a customer of mine asked me to try to do a software, application, a project using Power Apps, because at the time, Nintex Forms was just not capable of covering all the requirements, and Power Automate was. And somehow, slowly making those small steps, I just got into, I sunk, and today I'm working on like every day with the Power Platform.
Mm.
I didn't have any productive implementation of virtual agents yet.
Okay.
It's just other proof of concepts and demos. But Power Apps and Flow is just something I'm really using in everyday job, both for productive solutions and just to learn, to learn and to develop myself, to get familiar with new features, to get familiar with new functionalities, to share my
Yeah.
knowledge about them as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, as you can see, for me, there's something I noticed that I have been. I have to be honest with this. I have been in the Azure space for a very long time. Since Azure started and all that. So a lot of the people who know me are like, we know Sam is an Azure guy. What happened to him? Like, he's all crazy about the Power Platform and all that. And I can tell you that there isn't there isn't any community I've found so far in the Microsoft stack that has a lot of love and people willing to share and help like the Power Addict. Like you need something right now. Exactly. You need something right now, and like people jump on it, and help you to do that. So for me, I feel that it's not only empowering and creating citizen developers. I need to get one of these. Brian Donor, I need to get my fix on this badges. So for me, so for me, it's an amazing experience, and the fact that we are helping create a lot of citizen developers from no to low code, and they are building things rapidly. Yesterday, I did a virtual webinar with a group of young guys, and within like minute, we had an agent running. So for me, that's what excites me. to take away that whole complexity and cumbersome stuff. And hey, my guys, those who are doing development, you're not left, you're not left out. All these complex connections and automations you are doing, you can also do that as well. So for me, it's exciting to see these things. And like you said, community, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's a big
And
thing.
as you said, this community around Power Platform, the Power Addicts, or like there are multiple communities, but we are just so open, and we openly and with a real pleasure help others. All
Yeah.
the those starters, new people who are just making their first steps in Power Platform. That's all for them, and we are just ready to help them. Yeah, very much pleasure, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
it's amazing. And Brian is saying that we should have all the pioneers reunite. So we're going to have a reunion night for all the Power Platform pioneers, those who started and said, "Hey, let me play with it." So keep watch. Brian is going to get that going. Thomas, we're very, very excited. Thank you for sharing this. And I have your social media handle and stuff on the screen right now. So anyone who has any
Okay.
questions and things they want to follow up with you, yeah, right there, exactly. It's right below. No, it's right below you. It's right below you. So if you do this way, it's right down there. So they can reach out to you. You can help them out with stuff. And yes,
Hey,
so it's amazing. Yeah, yeah. Go for it. I was going to say something.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just had a question like, when are you serious? It's
Because you can't tell me to the point where wait, is it serious with this? Yeah, I just try to keep it. I try to keep it very active and lively because it's good to have fun and learn. That's the
sure.
like the best way. You keep remembering. Oh, this is when he talked about PV and then he was making his faces things. So I don't know. I like to do that a lot. So hey,
Hey, I
thank
was
you.
I was kind of serious when I was talking about my things, but then when we switched to you, it was like, no way I can be serious anymore.
Let go, Thomas. Let's go. I mean, this is supposed to be a casual conversation where we share these things. So it's amazing to have you. I'm honored as I mentioned. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
I'm honored as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure someone is speaking. So I can do this. So it's always a pleasure to have you great guys on the show. And like we've started to do, once we are ending one show, it is a pleasure to also announce and show that next Sunday's episode is going to be with Agent One. Alan's Agent One. So Georgia is coming
Oh,
on the show next Sunday. So quickly, for those who don't know, I'm just putting this right there for you to see. Georgia is coming on the show next Sunday. So make a date with us, and then hey, let's have some fun. So Thomas, any last words? Any advice? Any tips for people getting into PVA? Anything you want to tell them?
uh, right. The only thing that you have to be aware is that it is still, I mean, you are still able to work under the demo license for 60 days, first 60 days, then you are able to extend for the next 30 and the next 30. And until Microsoft decides that this endless extendability is terminated. But when you are over with those extents and you have to switch from trial to a license version,
Yeah.
then that's a little bit expensive because it costs like
Thousand,
$1,000
yes.
per month per I think 1,000 sessions. Now the
Yes.
session is um, the interaction between a bot and the user, not only within the one time, but I think it's like within 24 hours, even something like that. So even if it is a returning user, then this is still counted as a one session, but still that's quite
Kind of
expensive.
expensive,
But
yeah.
luckily, if you trigger Power Automates from Virtual Agent, sorry, with those two actions to start and end, then even if they use premium features, they should be covered under the Power Automate license.
License. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think
So
that's
that's
so that's one thing. And this I'm going to throw out to the Power Addict. So Brian, Alan, yourself, anyone who wishes to come and demystify the licensing for Power Platform, please reach out to me. Let me bring you on the show because it's been a
um
concern. People have asked.
yeah, but there was There was a recording. Sorry, the Power Addicts meetup, this
Yes,
virtual
I think
meetup.
was it January? I think some I was on
It
the
was in
February call.
January or
I was on the
December.
February call, yes, and I think they mentioned they have that. So maybe I might probably go
That was
scoop that up.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's still on YouTube, this recording, and it is
Okay.
really clarifying a lot about the licensing. So if you had a chance to be there,
Okay.
then
Cool.
I mean, or
I will dig
just
that
watch it.
up.
And that's the best clarification around the licensing with the examples like question answers, what licenses you need,
Yeah.
and that was really awesome. I enjoyed those one of those meetings that I really enjoyed the most.
Awesome.
It's on YouTube, Paradix
Yeah,
YouTube.
I think so. Brian just confirmed that that happened in late January. So I'm going to pull that video out and I'll put it on my
Yeah.
blog, and then I'll reshare it so people can actually understand the whole processing module about it. Hey Tomasz, awesome, awesome, awesome talking to you. Thanks you for sharing. Uh, this is not ended. So if you've noticed, all the guests who come on the Power Series actually have a Teams channel I created for them. So all you guys are there. We can keep the conversation going. Feedback, suggestions, what we want to do. I mean, it would be great to share. So I'll leave off you. Thank you very much for spending, almost an hour with us. It's a minute to an hour. We really appreciate your time. And I think my viewers and, all their people are being empowered to go do some entity extraction and have some fun. So enjoy the rest of your day. We're going to, take leave of you. And then we'll catch up later on.
Thank you very much, and Georgia, good luck. Try to stay serious with this man.
Definitely, I'm sure she was following, the show, so definitely she's picked that. So, Thomas, thank you very much, and then I'll catch
Thank
up
you.
with you later. All right, have a
Thank
good
you
one.
all.
Thank you. Awesome, people. So that was Thomas sharing his experience and some tips and tricks on the Power Virtual Agent. As you know it, this is the end of another intriguing episode. Like I mentioned, next week Georgia is coming. She is Alan's Agent One. Trust me, she's going to show us. I mean, her session is licensed to build, so she's going to walk us through the process. And if you don't know, her app is actually one of the leading apps right now in the Power App Gallery because it has something to do with the COVID-19 and really saving lives and helping. So make a date with us next week, Sunday, and then we're going to have a lot of fun. Until then, this has been another thrilling episode of Power Series with Samuel Adrani. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a wonderful time, and hey, stay safe out there. And hey, make sure you try to create mini yous so that when you leave this earth, you have people to still continue what you're doing. Have a wonderful evening and stay blessed.